Hey guys, this is Mercedes with Trim Podcast. Okay, Dill. Hey guys, this is Mercedes with Trim Podcast. I am here today with one of my most favorite people, Bric Simpson. I'm going to let him introduce himself, but I am also the co-founder of the Fellas Barbershop. We're currently based here in Utah, and I want to talk today about how me and Bric have met and how our business has collabed together. So I'm going to give Bric a chance to tell us who he is and what he does.
Yeah, well, my name is Bric Simpson. I am a full-time military guy, I guess is probably, that needs to be said.
Yeah.
I'm still in the military. I'm in my 25th year, passionate about helping veterans and service members in law enforcement, first responders, that type of thing. And that passion turned into becoming something more, and I founded what's called the Forge Forward Project. We've done some pretty cool stuff, and we've got some cool outreach, but one of our favorite things is that we created a medical technology that I guess that's what I call it, because it does help that way. But it's a tech that we put into VR, and it's proven scientifically and medically to help restore blood flow to parts of the brain affected by post-traumatic stress.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what the project does. We have other things and other avenues that we feel are super important and reach out to. Like, there's really a lot of, I think, holistic healing type things are kind of ignored.
Yeah.
When it comes to healing, like in veterans and things like that, post-traumatic stress, cold water therapy, light therapy, sound and vibrational frequency therapies, things like that are just kind of ignored, but it's easy things that people can implement in their lives. And so we're advocates for that as well.
Yeah.
So,
Bric, what branch are you in?
So I'm a full-time Army National Guard guy.
And so Army National Guard starts out Army, and then when you kind of go into more part-time, is Army National Guard or no?
So it's always Army National Guard.
Okay.
Right? So the bulk of our force in the National Guard is part-time. So some people call it a weekend warrior. They're 1 weekend a month, 2 weeks out of the summer.
Yeah.
And so they have to be super professional in what they do. So during those time frames, they're really working hard to understand whether it be a weapon system that they're doing, or logistics, or human resources, or even a cook, or all the way from that to like special forces and operators.
But this is your full-time job. Like, you're not doing weekends and
No,
2 weeks a year. You're full-time
yes.
every single day.
Yep. So when you first join, you have to be part-time, but if it's something you really enjoy, you can work toward being a full-timer, active guard and reserve, AGR.
Yeah.
And so I've been AGR for about 22 or 23 years now.
So you knew that's what you wanted, because that's only, 2 years in? You're like, I'm going full-time.
Yeah, I joined in the original, I started going to school for, I wanted to go to physical therapy school. And we deployed several times between 02 and 06. And I just realized that I love being a soldier and was like, this is for me.
Yeah.
And so I couldn't see myself taking the uniform off to go to school full time.
Yeah.
And so we just jumped in both feet, and here we are. I'm glad I did. It's a great life, and it's been really good. I mean, it's conducive, especially in the Guard, being active duty. I mean, I've lived in the same place for 20 years, and
I've been able to stay.
Yeah, so it's really good for like family and still getting all the benefits of being active duty, but being able to go home at night, which is kind of nice.
I was going to ask you, so do you work on the weekends? Are you like Monday through Friday, or how does that kind of work too?
Most of the time, but because of the current position I'm in, we work 7 days a week. So it just depends on what's needed. We have events on the weekends and all that kind of stuff. So, we're ready 24/7. So
that's crazy.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Always thank you for your service, and thanks for serving this country. Seriously, it's amazing.
I love that. And I actually have a thing about that when people say that, because some veterans, I feel like they separate the ability to have an open conversation about that situation, because they want to be humble. And I get that. And we all are. We want to be humble about saying, or getting that gratitude, because some people might think, well, it's just my job or whatever, right?
Yeah.
But it's so amazing when someone does say that, and I encourage veterans to be like, oh, hey, thank you so much. What do you do?
Yeah.
Tell me a little about you, and then you can have an open dialogue. And a lot of veterans complain about people not understanding what we go through, but that's our own fault, because we don't open that dialogue and have that conversation.
I'm like so glad you just mentioned that, because when I do Veterans Day, so Fellows does once a year Veterans Day,
you guys
free
do an
haircuts.
amazing thing.
But all of my veteran clients, like, they don't want to do it. They don't want to come in because they're like, I can afford my haircut, Sadie. Like,
right.
I don't need to come in on Veterans Day. Like, give it to people who can't. I'm like, it's not that you can't afford to get a haircut. It's a way for us to give back. And like, there's not a lot of things that like us as a barbershop can do besides haircuts or like money. But like, we want to do something for you, for what you do for us. And I'm not saying like, oh, you can't afford it or like any of those things. It's just like, let me do something for you. But I feel like a lot of veterans have a hard time accepting, like, they don't want handouts. Like, they're like, I didn't sign up to be in the military for people to give me half off or free days or whatever.
Well,
but as
100%.
like a community, like, I'm like, but we still want to do something like that. Like, if there's something that I could give back, that's what I want to give back to, is like my veterans. And so it is hard to get a veteran to like want to receive any sort of benefit. They just are like, no, I'm good. Like, I don't want to, like, on Veterans Day, I just stay at home. Like, I don't want to, like, take away from anybody. But I'm like, no, let us serve you, because that's what we want to do, is we want to be able to serve you.
It's one of those things that's like, you know, it's a catch-22 for some of these veterans. They feel that way, but at the same time, we have to allow some of those things to happen so we do build that relationship back up with the community, because the community
wants to support,
especially here, they in Utah, they love veterans. And you know, we've kind of walked away from the 20-year war on terror and stuff, but for 20 years, we got 20 years worth of veterans who have served, plus, like, you know, Vietnam vets and Gulf War vets and all these people that are still around. We don't have many World War II vets anymore, and they're some of my favorite, by the way. We have one that comes in. They're awesome. It's amazing. Yeah, like the stories they have and the mentality they have. I always take him. I'm like, he's mine. He's definitely mine. Good, because they're a breed that is just not common anymore. But I think it's important for veterans to say, hey, you know, I'll definitely come get a haircut, or, you know, because it's cool what you do in a lot of different ways. By offering those haircuts, you're not only just offering a free haircut to a veteran, all of your stylists are donating their time. They're bought in. The culture of your company, you know, speaking to that service part of that, right? And so by veterans coming in, you're helping to build that veteran community as well, because they might be like, hey, I know you, I've seen you for 15 years, but how you doing, or whatever. It's so true. Like, everyone who comes in, like, they know each other from somewhere, and that's what's cool just about a barbershop in general. Like, when you're in here, it's like that someone's neighbor's here, someone's like bishop's here, whatever it is. But on Veterans Day, like, everybody knows everybody, and it's like, we've got coffee going, like, everyone's just chilling and vibing. So I'm like, no, just come in. Like, it's not about the free haircuts. It's about, like, just let us do something for you. Like, let us just give back. And I encourage veterans to, you know, jump in and be a part of something like that. Even if it's, you know, maybe you're not the veteran who's going to get a free haircut and then lunch and dinner and all the stuff that's, you know, that's provided for us on Veterans Day, which is amazing. But come in and do that, because especially here at the Fellas, I mean, you guys are very invested in the veteran community. And I mean, you've supported the project in many different ways, and we're super grateful for that. And so I highly encourage veterans to come in here and take a look. And I hope that eventually, if you, obviously you could pay for your own haircut, so come back and pay for a haircut. You know? It's like, definitely come back and be a client and pay for a haircut at some point. So Bric, you've been in the military for 25 years. I'm pretty sure that's retirement time. Are you there, or what are you thinking? I started so young. I mean, I'm 42. I feel like just don't know what you do. I mean, I know what I would do. I've got lots of stuff set up, and you know, I've done everything. I invented popcorn lids for movie theater buckets, and have done all kinds of different stuff. And so I do security, like management and consulting all over the world. Like, I have gigs I can do, but I still feel like I'm very. I can still execute my job well. I still have something to offer. And so until I get to that point where I feel like, hey, you know, it's time to transition out of this and do something different full time, then I will, you know. But I still love wearing the uniform. I love being a soldier. It is part of who I am. And speaking on that a little bit, like, I always try to encourage, when we have veterans on our show or whatever, you need to start to learn to not be Sergeant Simpson anymore, and learn what it's like to be Bric again. Because when you transition out of the military, like, this cannot be your only identity of like wearing that uniform, because that's one of the mental blocks that we get as we transition out into something else, is like, well, I was a sergeant major, like, I was somebody, in this organization or whatever, right?
Yeah.
I'm not, but like, this is some of the mentality that we see that kind of hurts our veterans as they transition out. The civilian world doesn't really understand that authority that you used to have. And so get used to being you again for at least a couple years, like be Bric and get back to that personality trait so that you can go and be effective somewhere else.
Yeah.
And you're not hung up on that little nuance of transitioning out.
Yeah.
Like, man, who am I now?
Yeah. No,
So-
that totally actually makes a ton of sense. So you serve in the military, you're already like serving our country, you're already like doing what I would say is like the best duty possible for everybody and for this country. Why go and start a foundation like Forge Forward?
Well, I guess as I was starting to approach, because I think I was about in my 18th, 19th year of active and probably around my 20th year of serving completely, I just started to think, man, there has got to be more that we can do. And I always have a saying of, when you start to think, man, somebody should do something about this, you probably ought to look in the mirror. Because,
I love that.
Because
that's good.
And really, I'm not calling anybody out. I'm just saying, like, if you see a need for something and you feel passionate about helping that whatever it might be, that need, whatever, it's probably somebody telling you like, hey, you're the person.
Yeah.
And so when I first started the project, I didn't know what I was going to do. Like I thought maybe wilderness therapy. I wanted to think outside the box a bit, but then realized all of it had been done, right?
Right.
And so I really wanted to figure out how I could continue to help my brothers and sisters in uniform, even when I transitioned out of the military.
Yeah.
And so that was kind of I wanted to stay connected. I wanted to stay giving back and really find something that did that in a meaningful way. And so just through putting myself out there and connecting with other people and figuring out, that's how we came to the realization of like, let's figure out this niche in VR. Because actually one of the things that kind of sparked that was one of our other guys in our project, Nathaniel Free. He read a study. It was a 15-year study on VR by the Office of Naval Research, saying that just by being in a VR environment, stress responses to the brain were mitigated by 56 to 90% in every single person.
Dang.
That's wild when you think about that.
Yeah.
You can be, 150 heart rate, and then within 5 minutes in a VR environment, your heart rate's coming down, your stress responses to the brain are being mitigated.
Yeah.
And just to be able to do that in a situation, like think about someone in crisis, right? When we're in crisis, that's when we tend to make really bad decisions and we think about things like hurting ourselves or everybody be better off without me or whatever.
Yeah.
And so if you can mitigate those stress responses to the brain in crisis, like that's huge. Like VR has such a powerful magic about it. And I don't know even what that is. We haven't made the correlation exactly, but my thoughts are that just by being in this beautiful, serene environment or, relaxing environment, you can play like theta state sound waves in there, and that helps to relax the brain because it tunes into that frequency. But by doing that, and seeing that, your brain can't help but be like, oh man, I got to relax,
Yeah.
And now we can get back to our cognitive, healthy divergent thinking and stuff like that, just by being in that environment.
What's so cool about Forge is, I love this, but like, so people always want me to give them like a 30-second speech whenever we're doing like a fundraiser or something to donate and like get money, raise money for Forge. They always want me to give like a 30-second like kind of spiel, or like anyone's kind of like, well, what do I say? Like, I'm like, man, there's just so much that has went into Forge Forward that I'm like, where do I even start? And so I'm like, there's red light therapy. They can communicate with like their brothers and sisters like that are across country because they just lose communication once they come home. Like, they were ride or dies for all this time, and then all of a sudden they get home and then they're gone.
Right.
And so I'm like, but then there's so much more than that. I'm like, there's like, sound waves, and I'm like, I don't even know. Like, so if you were to give someone like a 30-second speech, just quick, like what does Forge Forward provide veterans? Like, how would you even explain all the things that you put into that?
Yeah, so probably longer than 30 seconds, honestly.
Yeah.
But so the idea, like, we're passionate about community building too, especially in the veteran and law enforcement and first responder communities, because like you said already, you serve with these people, right? Say you and I joined and we were active duty Army, right?
Yeah.
We served 4 years together. We deployed together. We've seen a lot of crazy stuff.
Save each other's lives,
Yeah,
like
I mean,
have each other's backs,
that could be
ride or die.
this is a family that you've built within
Yeah.
this time period.
The only family you have at
Yes,
the time.
could be. Especially, there's a lot of people who join the military that don't have anybody else.
Yeah.
And so this is everything to them,
Yeah.
right? And so you have this 4 years where you build these bonds and relationships. But I live on the East Coast, you live on the West Coast, and now our service is over, and we're going to go pursue college and
Right.
build a family or whatever it might be, right? So this community, the idea behind the VR is that now if we can it's really just a cost of a $400 headset for us to be able to connect these people, which is, when you think about a nonprofit, that's a very low scale cost to do something like this. But now you have a headset, I do, we can connect in these homerooms that we're creating, and we could have a beer, we could talk about our day, we could talk about what happened in our deployment, and we understand those things that nobody else does in a way that they never could, because we were there together, right? We can shoot pool, we can throw darts, we can watch a UFC fight, but we can now create this community where we gather every Friday, or you know, watching a UFC fight, because you can have a homeroom that looks like a badass man cave, or however you want to design it, right? And you've got a 100-inch screen that you can sit there and watch a UFC fight with your people. Yeah. And so community building is huge on that aspect for us. And then we add in the proprietary tech that we have put some protocols together in a certain way, where you feel like you're playing a video game, and it's like small things that we're doing inside of that video game that create the ability to restore blood flow to parts of the brain affected by post-traumatic stress. And it would look like in your man cave or whatever you decided, it would look like an arcade, and you walk up and you start playing, or you touch it, and now you're immersed in this other environment. So this is all in one space in VR, right? And then the other thing that we are working to put into this is a mental health crisis management tool, which I think is like one of the most important things too, because what we want to do is be able to help people in the moment of crisis, right? And so rather than saying, I've got to get up, I've got to go put clothes on, get in the car, go to somebody, whatever, right? But even calling on the phone, it's not very personable. Right. But here's how we envision this to happen, is that now there's a red button on the wall that says press in case of emergency or something. We can use a little humor, right? Yeah. And you walk up and hit that, and now I'm transported to a private island in the middle of the ocean with the waves coming in, relaxing me. I'm sitting on a hammock, and I'm just looking at these things. The birds are kind of out there. I'm getting that feel of like calm, right? Yeah. And in the distance, the sun's setting on the horizon, and now I get connected with a mental health professional, and we're going to use 988 for that. I don't know if your listeners don't know, but 988 is basically, it's 911 for mental health. So instead of calling cops and getting them out there and whatever, they can be involved too if somebody's a danger to themselves. Yeah. But you actually get connected with a crisis management counselor. It's all free. And then not only are you connecting with them, but now we're using like EMDR in the sun, as it's setting, as they're speaking, awesome. And you're just completely calming down. And now we're using this amazing tool of virtual reality plus a mental health professional to get you through a crisis moment. So that's the idea of what we're trying to provide on the tech side with the project, but then also introducing veterans and these people that have gone through major crisis or trauma. Because trauma is trauma in the brain. It doesn't matter if it was a battered wife or sexual assault or something that happened to you during war or whatever it might be. Trauma's trauma in the brain, and we can help with that. But we want to expose them to holistic healing methods like the cold water, like the red light. So not just red light. We actually work with a company called Valhalla, so they're in Lehigh and in Heber. That was a connection through Jason. But so the founder of that is a neuropsychologist. Sorry. Nice. And so he created a completely immersive light therapy that goes through all spectrums of light. And they've been able to heal people on a cellular level through these lights. So that's the stuff we want to start to be able to offer to our veterans for free. Then come to one location, get all these resources. And then also we community build at this location. We do poker nights, we do cornhole, we do, things like that. Fellas comes in and they do haircuts or whatever it might be, right? So that's kind of what we're advocating for right now, is trying to get to that point where we have a facility like that we offer all these different things. Plus they can go back. So like Plunge is our cold water partner, right? Yeah. We'll have a Plunge with us, in our shop, but then hopefully we connect them back to Plunge where they're getting out in the community and making those relationships with someone like that. Just like, hey, fellas is coming out on this poker night. They're going to give haircuts. Make sure you go see them again.
Yeah, look
so
good,
it's connecting that to these veterans, and then also getting them out of that shell a little bit into the community again.
I love the help part because like so many veterans like don't want to go get help, or like I have a lot of veterans who talk about going to like the VA and like it can take months to get in.
Right.
And like to be able to have the VR and it be just so like instant.
Yep.
And they don't have to like go out and try to, you know, hey, like I'm going through these issues, or maybe like wanting to hold back and like kind of hide some of like their trauma or not talk about it. Like they can, you know, kind of be in their own safe setting at home where they feel the safest and be able to still receive that help too.
Absolutely. That's a huge part of that.
So that's amazing.
Yeah.
Where are you at on all of this? Like, has VR made it out to veterans' hands yet?
It has not. So unfortunately, that's the most expensive part of what we're doing is actually developing this stuff, right? We're to the point where we're ready to do that, but it's about fundraising for us now.
Yeah.
You know, several of us in the project have put a lot of our own money into this. And we've gotten it to a certain point, but now it's time to really like find some major funding partners to make this happen.
To get it to that next level, to be able to do and employ all the things that you're trying to employ.
Yeah.
I mean, just, it's crazy to think that you're able to do all of that stuff, especially because you're working full time and then you're doing this charity and it's just, what do you call it? Charity, foundation, fundraiser? Like, what do you call it?
I mean, I call it the project.
The project.
And,
I love
because
that.
it's, you know, it's a project, and when you have a project, it's ongoing, right? And so for me, that's why I kind of wanted to name it the Forge Forward Project. And, you know, I had a whole thing about why we called it Forge Forward and all that too, but it's something that I hope to carry on beyond me. You know, I don't want, like, I'm the founder and CEO, but I want to be the founder, and then we find somebody who's way more qualified to continue this down the road and build it even more, being a CEO of the project. Like, I see the future, and I'm playing chess with this, not checkers, and looking for it to be something that helps people forever, if possible.
Forever.
You know?
Yeah, and this could be a state-funded thing. This is something you kind of worked on as far as like maybe the state getting in and kind of helping, but also it could be private-funded too. It could go either way.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many different funding partners out there. It's about connection and somebody seeing the, you know, being passionate about helping others too in this way, and then connecting the right people, right?
Yeah.
And so I think our state is going to jump in and at some point and help us with some of this funding, but also, you know, yes, I know it's a process, but you know, I think it's important that our state does have some skin in the game, because we want to push like some legislation to change some things and get better mental health for some of our veterans, and so it's important that they understand that they have a partner in us that's going to be a good fiduciary for these people, right? Yeah. And so it's an expensive deal to do the development part, but when after you're done with that, it's maintaining what you've created, and it's a $400 headset for a veteran. Excuse me.
Which is life-changing for them.
It's life-changing, and now as long as they've got a connection to the internet, we have an incredible tool that they can use in the comfort of their own home at any time. Yeah.
Well, now you guys know why Bric is like literally one of the most amazing people I've ever met in my life. We're gonna cut Bric's hair because he looks like shit.
Oh, geez.
And we're gonna transfer over.
Yeah, I kind of want to do I don't want like a hard part, but I kind of want to be able to like kind of
find definition to be able to push it over.
Yeah, and like kind of go over. So I really don't know if I need like length because it's not super long.
Do you want me just to throw some texture up there then?
I don't know. What does that mean?
Yeah, so texture just makes it to where it's like not one length and it's heavy. Texture makes it so it can kind of be like more of a messy look. So it's not like, it's just a little more like trendy to have like a little more texture. I'm just going to throw texture and see what you think. Okay. Should I do a bald fade or should I do like a bald fade at the bottom?
Is that a zero fade?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. We'll zero fade you up then. This is perfect because your hair really is grown out and
I know, it's long.
Connecting down. So this is going to be super nice. So yeah, one thing I did want to talk to you is about like my dad grew up in like the military, like my sisters all joined the military. I'm the only sibling who didn't go.
I didn't know that about you.
Yeah, I wanted to be a mom. Like I was just so like, I want to be a mom. Like I don't want to be in the military. Like it's not that I didn't want to, I just wanted to be a mom. And I knew I didn't want to like leave my kids and like my siblings and my dad, like they all left, so they were gone. So I knew kind of what that life was like. So when I was opening the Fellows, which I never planned on opening a business, but when I opened the Fellows, like I knew I did want to make like an impact like somewhere. I just didn't know where, but where like veterans and military is so close to home for me, just because that's my family.
Yeah.
I knew that's something I wanted to do. So like at first I was like, okay, well, what am I going to do? Like donate like a portion of like our haircut sales, or like what exactly am I going to do? And so first I started doing like, okay, so we're going to do on Veterans Day, we'll do free haircuts for veterans. And then I started thinking like, well, wait, why don't we just do like a discount all year around, like for veterans? And then I started thinking like veterans aren't the only one who like serves our communities. Like it's also like law enforcement, it's also EMTs, it's also firefighters. So then we've kind of extended a year-round discount that's for anyone who is what we call our local hometown heroes.
Yeah.
And then I was like, we've got to be able to like do more than even what we're doing now too. I'm a lot like you. I'm like, okay, there's something more that has to happen, and I'm like you in the way of like I'll be the one to make it happen, because I see something and I want to fix it and I want to do more. And so then I started a men's grooming line, and I knew like, look, I'm not a professional when it comes to like formulation and learning how to do distribution and all of those things. So I'm like, I'm not a pro. But what I do know is that I can make more money by doing my own product line, and I can use that more money to make a difference in the community. So then I started our own product line, which I did know like what would be a good product and what wouldn't be. So it was like tons of back and forth and like trying to get that figured out. That was like a whole new animal for me. So now we do the veterans haircuts once a year, and then we do discounts all year long, and then now we're doing like a percentage of our sales for our product line to veterans. But I'm like stuck in this place where like whatever we sell in the barber shop we donate, but I'm like having a hard time doing like the online thing. Like a lot of yours is like you have to get people to your website to be able to buy product, to be able to donate. And that's where I'm like, oh, that's like a whole nother animal, is trying to get into like getting influencers to post, getting like ambassadors, getting like all these people like a part of your project of trying to like make it to where you can sell more so that you can give more. And so that's like a whole nother animal that I'm tackling. So it's like every year I feel like I'm tackling another animal that has something to do with giving back. But one thing that I do love just in general is like when I have a veteran in my chair, not just like a veteran, but like honestly any guy barbering, like I always think about like, when was the last time like this guy probably did something for himself? Like this morning, like I went and like 2 days ago I went and got my hair done. And the other day, like I went and got like my lashes done, or like my nails done, or my toes done. But like I think about it and I'm like, guys don't really like go do stuff for themselves. So like what makes them feel good? Because like lashes, hair, like that's what makes me feel good.
Yeah.
And I think about like, what if they don't have a spouse at home? Like what if they don't, like when they wake up in the morning, like no one's telling them like, oh, you look great. And so I really try to like focus in our shops at the fellas, like when you have a client, it doesn't really matter if they're a veteran or not, just a client in general, in your chair, it's like try to give them like the best of you, because you don't know like what they're going through, or you don't know like the last time like somebody even said something like nice to them or like made them feel good. But like when you feel good and you're like, my hair's on freaking point, like your whole day is just like everything. Or when you like you feel like you look good, like that's so huge. So
I agree 100%.
Similar in a way, like yours is kind of more of like like solves like them mentally. Mine is kind of more of like look good, feel good, like kind of like promotes a little bit of like
that smells
physical
amazing,
health.
By the way, sorry.
Doesn't that smell so good?
So good.
So we add hair tonic inside of our water bottles because tonic is super old in the barber world. It actually pH balances your scalp. And if you had like any product, it would break it up for me, which is really nice. So it's kind of a tool for me too. But then, obviously the smells amazing, too. Am I up too high on where that would potentially be parted?
No, I think that's right.
Okay.
You know what's funny? Like I got a question for you actually.
Okay, let's hear it.
I feel like at least my experience and knowing like the barbering world, I feel like you kind of changed the game a bit.
Oh.
Well, you changed it a lot actually, because it went from, my understanding of like a barber shop went from like, the barber pole, and I don't know what they call that thing, but
like for old surgeons.
Yeah. And the old fellas in the shop, BSing and whatever. And to be honest, I didn't know any females who were barbers.
I didn't either.
So to me, that's like super cool you did that. And you have a lot of females now that are barbers. And now you've like turned it into something that is a culture and a trend, like to come to a place like the fellas and get your haircut. Like, it's awesome. So I think it's pretty cool. And I don't know if I was just wrong in saying that, because I don't mean to be like girls that didn't do it before, but you're the one who introduced me to that.
Yeah, so when I first started barbering, especially down here, like in like southern Utah County, it was all like older guys, and like I had applied to work there. I never planned on opening my own business. I only made it to 8th grade. I was like, I do not know how to run a business. I have no desire to run a business. I just want to cut hair. I just want to take care of my clients. I just want to barber, but I only knew how to barber. And all of the guys around here that owned barber shops were all like 60, 70, and they're like, are you looking for a salon? I'm like, no, can I like cut hair in your barber shop? And they're like, oh, no, what? No, you definitely can't. And I was like, freak, what am I going to do? Like, I don't know how to do women's hair. Like, so I can't go to that. Yeah. So I ended up just like opening up my own little spot. And then there was like other girls that were like, wait, you're a girl barber? Like, I want a barber. I'm like, I'll teach you how to shave. Like, is that all you just need to learn? Is just like how to shave? And they were like, yeah, like if I could learn how to shave, I would know how to do it. And so, yeah, like it really did kind of start like a little trend down here of like women barbers. And it's been really awesome to have like the mixture of genders in a barbershop. Honestly, like I feel like my girl barbers are like really, really good for men. Like just being able to be like hyping them up. Like, you look awesome. Like this is what your wife's going to like. Because most of my girl barbers are wives, and they're like kind of doing their client's hair as if like, like this is what I would do to my husband's hair to like make it look a little better or whatever. So they're kind of thinking of things like that. But yeah, no, it's a different thing. Like just even the other day, this guy was like, I had my upstairs painted, and he comes down and he's like, looks at one of my guy barbers, and he's like, hey, are you in charge? And it was so funny because like I was just having a conversation with that barber, Jordan. I don't know if you ever met Jordan.
Yeah, I know Jordan. He's great.
Yeah, so I was just talking to him about, I'm like, men are like so sexist when it comes to a barber shop. Like they really are. I'm like, I swear, nobody's ever walked in here and been like, you own this place.
Who's the boss?
Yeah. They've always went to one of the guys every single time, and they're like, hey, like, are you the owner? And they're like, no, she is. And they're like, do you own this? And I'm like, I do.
Yep.
I got this.
I own this. Yep.
And so he comes down and he's like, hey, he was like, are you the owner? And so he just starts laughing because the whole time he was like, they're not. Like, they know that a girl owns this. Like, it's clean. Like, of course, it's, it's a girl shop or whatever. And I was like, no, they don't. No, they don't. And so it's like, even now, like, when people message me on Instagram on fellas, they're like, hey, bro, like, would you want to go? And I'm like, sure, bro. Like, sure, I'd love to.
Sure, sis.
Yeah, isn't that so? It's super funny. Like, we laugh a lot about that too. And like, so like, this industry is just so, it's like a male dominant industry, and so most people don't think that like women own barbershops or kind of like more manly or businesses.
Well, I think you've opened the door for a lot of other females to say, hey, this is okay for me to do, and I want to do it, so I'm gonna go. And honestly, like you say you wanted to be a mom, and I just see you as such a boss mom. Like you get things done, you know what you want, you go after it, you work hard, and you set an incredible example, not only for your girls, but for other females out there to be like, you know what, if I have something I want to do, I can do it. And so I've always respected you for that. And your story of like, I only made it to the 8th grade. I mean, you're probably more successful than, most people I know, especially in that aspect of like building a brand and not only just building it, but the brand is thriving, right? I mean, there's lots of people who want to be a part of the fellas now. So kudos to you, and it's pretty cool.
It's so funny that you say that. Remember how we were talking earlier about how like veterans don't take like, they don't want like handouts, or like they don't want like you to like do anything for them. I'm kind of the same way. Like when people are like, oh, you're like so successful, I almost like I suck at accepting like that positive feedback because I'm like, I'm not anywhere where I want to be. And I'm coming to this realization as I get older that like I have to start to be like happy with where I'm at. Otherwise, I'm going to just constantly feel like I've, never enough, never
What's
enough,
next?
never enough. And so it's like, I'm learning to become like, thank you. Like, that's super nice. Like, I feel really good about where I'm at.
Yeah.
But I'm still going to go higher.
Yeah.
But still accepting the fact that like they have said something nice rather than just constantly being like, nowhere near. I feel like I just never really like would receive people's like nice comments, just probably like veterans.
Do you know what? Yeah. Do you know
I'm
what
not
happens?
doing this for success. I'm doing
for
this
sure.
like, I don't like for everybody, like for my kids, like for my family, like for my barbers, and like a little bit for everyone.
Well, what happens when you genuinely accept a compliment? I mean, you're validating that person, right? The other person.
I agree.
Because if you just play it off, and it doesn't feel that way in the moment, like you're like, oh yeah, well, I really actually kind of suck or whatever, play it down, then you're kind of dismissing their thoughts in a way.
I agree.
But when you genuinely look at them and say, oh my gosh, thank you so much. That is so kind of you to say. It totally changes it.
It really is so kind too.
It is.
Like, I'm like, what a nice thing to say. And like, go out of your way and like acknowledge, like, everyone wants to talk about haters, but you don't appreciate the people that like love you and say like the nice things. Like, you just pay attention to the hate, but there's so much love, and like, there's so many people that are always saying such nice things to me, but I just like push it off because I'm like, I'm just not anywhere where I need to be. Like, but
I wish more people would just realize that it's okay to accept a compliment and to take it in and like just say, hey, thank you so much. You are so kind for saying that. And we're working super hard, and we're looking to achieve these extra goals this year or whatever. And now it kind of just, that whole conversation has changed.
I agree. And like letting them like it feels good to like let somebody like give you a compliment.
Absolutely.
And so it's like, I think about like the frustrations that I feel when my veteran clients are like, no, I'm not coming in. Like, I'm not going to steal a spot. I'm like, no. Like, let me thank you. And I'm like, wait, I'm literally doing the same thing when somebody else compliments me. So I try to remind myself of that. Like, no, Sadie, you got to be like, you got to accept that comment, own it.
Well, I've had a rule that I live by for a lot of my life where when somebody is winning, I am genuinely happy for them. I am genuinely just like, yes. And I think that sometimes, like you talked about haters before, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes, those people exist, and it sucks that that's the case. But when you're a hater and you are, jealous or envious of somebody else's success, all you're doing is putting that vibe in the universe of, I don't want success. I don't want goodness to happen to me. And so I never wanted that to be me. And I guess it's almost like, I'm trying to serve myself, but really I'm not. When someone is winning, especially someone close to me, I will be the first person to be like, hey, I'm so damn proud of you. You are the bomb, like whatever, and just hype it up because I want those same things too, right?
Yeah.
And I feel like there is definitely a power in the universe that you put negativity on a win, regardless if it's yours or somebody else's, you're going to start pushing that away from you. And you're not going to attract those wins, Negativity
and like negative comments or like haters was a really hard part for me because like at the end of the day, like you just want everyone to be happy. Like you're like, I want you to be happy. Like I don't want anyone to like be like, I want to serve the community. I want to do this. I want to do that. But it's like, I would almost give like haters like time and energy because I'd be trying to prove to them that I'm not. And I'm like, well, I don't even know you. Like, why am I trying to prove myself to you? And like, I think about that all the time of like, I still will get like a bad Google review. I'm like, you're an ass. I hate you. I'm like, ah. But for the most part, like I'm able to be like, we just wasn't the place for you. Like, that's okay. And like, I might not be the person for you, and that's okay too. So like, just being better at like accepting myself and like my company and like the way that I do things is hard, like becoming easier, but it was super hard at the first because you just want everyone to be happy. But the truth is like making everyone happy just isn't a possibility.
Yeah, it's not going to happen. As long as you do your best and you know at the end of the day that you've put everything you put into it, then you just let the chips fall where they may.
Tell me what your thoughts are on this. Like, you probably do get a lot of haters just because, like, I don't know, maybe you don't, but I know that when I was searching for veteran charities that I wanted to be a part of and foundations that I wanted to be a part of, projects that I wanted to be a part of, I asked all of them to like, I wanted to see like their financials. Like I wanted to see that it was an actual nonprofit, et cetera, et cetera. And I went through a lot before I ended up choosing any. But I feel like when I was talking to these like nonprofit places, like they would do a lot of like, don't like, you know, this is the company because of this, like all those other ones out there. Like it was just really like competitive almost.
Oh my gosh, it is.
And so like, do you deal quite a bit with that of like, people kind of like, well, that charity, like they don't really spend that money,
whatever.
like, yeah.
Well, I would say that we haven't dealt with that, I guess, in some ways, yes, but I do believe that, especially in the nonprofit space, nonprofits feel like they have to be competitive with each other.
Yeah,
and
super competitive.
I don't believe that, okay? So about 2 years ago now, we started a thing called the Utah Veteran Nonprofit Coalition. And so our goal, it was us and a few other nonprofits that we really thought were doing good things in the community. And so we just got together and said, look, let's work together on things instead of, you know, competing for funds. So if you do X, Y, and Z really good, then instead of competing for funds to go start that ourselves, we'll actually just push people to you, but we have the funds for it, right?
Right.
And so we all just kind of agreed to do that. And we made a really good relationship with like Heroes Haven or Das Haven. Do you know those guys? Mm-mm. Fantastic people. Vet Cave, incredible people. Justin Johnson from Operation Combat Boots. I've got a plan. You know, I love him. I think he's an incredible dude, and he does a really cool thing where he, I know you know this, but like if anybody that's listening doesn't know this, he raises money to give veterans and first responders and stuff free gym memberships, which, you know, Justin's passionate about what the mental health benefits about going to the gym, which is proven, right?
Yes.
And so he does something really cool. So like our plan is, I've talked to him, once we have a location, Justin's going to be able to personal train out of our location, because one of the things
that's perfect, because you're going to have the polar plunge.
Yeah, we're
and
going to
that
have
will
it
just
all.
benefit even more to like that physical aspect.
And we can introduce them to healthy ways to work out, because one of his challenges, he told me, was that he'll get these people a free membership, but they won't go because they're intimidated to go to a gym, right?
Yeah.
But if he can get them to come in and work out with him, he says, you know, it changes everything and they'll start to go. And I'm like, brother, let's put you in a spot where you can personal train. And now we're operating separately, but we're helping the veteran community together.
I like that so much. Like,
you know,
I feel like in the barber industry, like, I don't know what it is, but obviously it's super competitive too. There's not very many other barbershops that like, hey, let's collab together. Like, let's do haircuts for kids going back to school, like parents who couldn't afford for maybe their kids to get haircuts or whatever. It's like, no, like definitely not. But I love that you turned competition into like, no, let's just do this together. We're all trying to tackle the same thing. We're all trying to accomplish the same thing. Like, we're working towards the same goal, like benefiting everybody. And like, why not work together? Like, more heads together, more resources together. It's just overall a better
more help
thing
for people. And like Das Haven or Heroes Haven, they need a location where they can, that isn't a cost to them, to be able to come out and do their therapies, and they could use our space, you know? So we believe in that collaboration between nonprofits and helping each other, and, you know, being open about what you do. I mean, I'll be honest with you. I mean, we've put about, you know, $100K into our own money into this, and we've never been paid in 6 years of operating our nonprofit, never taken a dime, because it's all about building what we're doing, right? And to be fair and honest, I do believe that when you work in a nonprofit, once you get to that point, if it's your full-time job, you should get paid to do it.
I do too.
And honestly, like VA grants, right? To get a VA grant, if you're not paying your staff, they won't even look at you to give you the grant, because they know that if it's all volunteer basis, these people aren't going to be bought in forever. And that is just the way it is. Like, people will volunteer.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, 100%. And so
but it makes sense.
They want to see like paid staff, because it shows that, first of all, you can operate in a way where, you know, just what you're doing by yourself can pay people, but also they know that people will stay and work harder because they're getting paid, right?
They're invested in.
Yep.
They have a...
And we've seen that in our own nonprofit, where it's hard for some people to dedicate time, because you got to go home and justify to your spouse, like, I'm not going to be home for dinner because I'm going to go do this X, Y, and Z. And yeah, sorry, it's not putting anything back into our family
And
monetarily.
there's no guarantee that like your project's going to make it,
Like,
you know?
there's,
So it's
there's
like
no guarantees whatsoever.
everything that you've done all this time in the first 6 years could be a lemon. You know,
Yes.
like you could
Yep.
maybe never get the funding. So yeah,
Right.
that's hard because you
So
just
there is a
don't know.
point.
Like you can work as hard as you can work, but
Yep. There is
until
a
you have the
point
money,
where you,
there's-
I think once you are budgeted and you have a full-blown budget, you should budget some of your funding to be able to pay your people to work in that nonprofit.
No,
And
I
I think
definitely agree.
It'll just enhance your nonprofit, and then it opens you up for other grants that you wouldn't be eligible for if you didn't pay people. So
How did you connect with most of these people? Like just by like social media or like, cause you put on events too. So like, do you meet them at like events? Like, are
Yeah.
they through like the guard? How do you meet them?
really, it's networking, and it's been through other events that we've connected with certain people. I mean, just even going to our very first event, which was Shutah.
That was your first event?
It was our very first event. We were, building our own
Break
products.
these
And
eyebrows.
Are they rough?
They're grandpa eyebrows. We gotta take those down.
I have never heard that before.
That's okay. You won't anymore because they're gone.
Okay.
You're good to go.
You're just gonna have to tell me what I need to do.
Come see me.
Okay.
A little more.
Okay.
Just unbusy your life just a little bit.
I will do everything I can to do that. But going back to that, like just getting connected, and then people seeing what our mission was, and it just opened up other doors. And
That's how I met you.
yeah, and podcasting too. Podcasting has been something really cool because it has opened up my ability to connect with people that I probably wouldn't have been able to before, because I'm able to tell their story, right? But then they see what we're doing and they're like, oh, you need to connect with this person or that person, and it's been awesome. So it's all about telling your story and not being afraid to put yourself out there, and eventually you'll find the right people that will, they benefit, you benefit, and you find the right connections that are really just wholesome all around. And that's how you grow this thing. You just have to be patient, work hard.
Super patient.
Yeah, be dedicated, and have belief in what you're doing, and that it's going to benefit others, and we see that already. I mean, we've had people tell us that just through the connections they've had through the project that, we've saved their life. And I don't say that in a, just a passing moment, because it's a huge.
Yeah, somebody's life's a big deal.
Yeah, I mean, we've helped to give other people purpose in ways that we didn't even know it would happen, right? And so I think just by being there in general, like no matter how big of an impact you think you can have, it's probably bigger than you even know, right?
Yeah, no, I
And-
definitely agree.
And so I always encourage people, like, if you feel like you can make a difference, even if it's small, go do it, because you never know whose life you're going to save, or you're going to help, or what the ripple effect that's going to happen. So it's cool. I am super blessed and super thankful to be able to work in this space and be around the people. I mean, meeting you guys. I mean, we love you guys. You guys are part of the Forge family, in my opinion. And we're just incredibly grateful for it. I've met so many incredible people through serving others,
So where do you get the majority of your donations? Is it through, what's your website called?
So it's forgeforwardproject.org.
Okay.
And that's where we have our official donation page. And so we've done, I've been on we've worked with Meta. They're very interested in what we're doing, and we kind of didn't want to necessarily give it up. But I've been on Newsmax and all over different things. CBS just reached out, unfortunately. So we don't have our shop, right now.
Yeah, you're like, hold
And so, yeah, that kind of sucked. But when we do things like that and we connect with people like you guys have raised, I would say somewhere around 15 grand now or so for the project.
I hope so.
Because we did the big push with the drawing and the,
Yep.
all of that stuff. Plus, you guys just did another event, which was incredible. I couldn't even be there, but
No,
you guys
somebody
were,
helped us out though quite a bit. They were able to help us with numbers, because we obviously are all, we competed against each other to see who
yeah.
could get the most donations to Forge. So that was really fun.
You guys killed it. And so it's through those relationships where we're able to operate in a sense where it covers at least the ability to operate. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Bric, what do you think? How do you feel?
Feel amazing.
Feel like a whole new guy?
Haircut. Oh yeah. I mean, you know as well as I do. Did you ever watch the barbershop shows?
Yeah,
With Ice
definitely.
Cube?
Yeah, definitely.
Remember the guy who comes in and he's like, I've got a job interview, and he's trying to get a haircut, but he doesn't have money, and so he gets the haircut and then he bolts out.
I would let you.
Okay,
I'm not running
no.
after nobody.
So he does that though, right? And then he comes back and he's like, I got the job, and they're like, dude, amazing, like, and then he pays him, and it was just like, that made all the difference in the world for that guy to get the haircut and look good, right?
Yeah.
And it's just like you said, when you get a fresh haircut, you feel like $1 million.
Yeah.
And you look your best, and you feel your best when you look that way. So
I really like this change on you. This is a good change.
I like it too. Thank you. It looks amazing.
Well, Bric, I'm really grateful to have you on
my
this
gosh.
podcast.
Are
Like,
you
I literally
serious?
can't think of a better person.
I love you guys.
Aw.
And we're so thankful for what you guys do for us and
For sure.
and veterans in general. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, and
Definitely.
law enforcement, veterans, first responders. It's a worthwhile, incredible mission, and we couldn't do what we're going to do without support from people like you. So
I couldn't be partnered with any better person. Seriously.
we're
So.
thankful. Big.